Good evening, friends. Can you all hear me? Hello, friends. Good evening. Am I audible? Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. And by now, you must be able to see my slides as well. Confirm me?
Yes.
Perfect. I know that some of you are just trying to join in. Therefore, we'll start with a bit of a chat on what we have done last week and how you are doing. Things like that. Yes. How are you all doing? Doing good, great, or amazing? And I'm here live. Thank you, Kenula. You say you are doing good. Okay, what about the others? Is this a difficult time for you all to hang on with me? Maybe this is a difficult time, but unfortunately, we have to hang on, irrespective whether we are willing or unwilling, because we are given just 24/7 week and 52 such weeks for a year. And number of weeks, how much you are given for your completion of your thesis in the master's program, MPhil program, or your PhD. So that time is always a constraint for everyone. With all these time constraints, we are going to actually look at time as a window which enables us what? Which enables us freedom, opportunity, and opportunity cost. Okay, all right. I think it's good for us to move ahead. අද මාත් එක්ක කතා කරන්න නැහැ කියලා ඩිටර්මින් කරගෙන දාපු කට්ටියම.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Nala. Well, I do see that some of you are new today, and good. Even though you are new or old, all of you are equal to me. But kindly rename your screen name with the most favorable name that you might like me to call you from your names, and then your particular program, maybe MSc, MPhil, PhD, or whatever, and then a little clue about the field as well, so that I know I'm speaking to someone reading for this degree in this particular field. Okay. Some of you happen to have unmuted, and that noise gave me a lot of motivation. Okay, all right. Now, it is going to be the norm these days that researchers do not read. On behalf of the researchers, we found that it is the large language models who are reading your research papers. This is hilarious. You are doing a PhD, MSc, or an MPhil not to train an LLM but to train yourself and to be able to sustain in a academic field, because when you choose to go ahead in the ladder of your field, which makes the sense that you are not going to be a versatile one, but you are going to be someone very what we call expertise into one particular domain. So when you're becoming a domain expert, you have to be an expert by name, by qualification, and by the confidence as well. So can you respond me quickly? What I just said as a claim. Nowadays, it is not the researchers, it's not the PhD readers, it's not the MPhil or MSc readers who read their journal or rather research articles, but the LLMs. Do you agree with my statement? You can just say yes or no. So you all are going to admit that it is true. And Mahesh says to a certain extent. Okay, okay. So why did I ask this question is now you all are going to be the writer of your own research story, because research is a story that you create, you give birth with the help of your supervisor, the lab staff, and the rest of the people around you, and maybe the variables that you're using, the experiments that you're doing, all that is going to be your story. And when you're writing your research, you are writing your story of research. Scientific writer has to be a good reader. Now, if LLM is going to read on behalf of you, let me advise you, that's not a good sign, because at the end of the day, when you are gifted with the title MSc, MPhil, or PhD, you should be able to showcase within yourself that you are becoming an expert in the field. It is not your LLM. It is not the dollars that you pay for your LLM. It is not your computer or the local AI that you draft for your research work. So this is what the purpose of today's discussion. I will be guiding you through a wonderful journey of how to read as a scientific writer. Now we have about 30 plus of you. And I posted on WhatsApp group what are the requirements for you to come and join the class. Can you remember them? And have you got it with you? Have you got it next to you? Last week, to be frank, we were so fast. We were so busy because we had a lot to do, right? Today, we'll be becoming much more calmer. But becoming a calmer, we are going to be diving bit of a deeper, right? We are not trying to run too many separate activities today. Instead, we will work through one integrated reading lab. And this is by using a single selected paper. And the paper is not selected by me, it is selected by you, right? And the purpose is actually not to summarize whatever the paper and its findings. We are not going to do that. The purpose is actually to study how the paper that you're going to read works as an act of communication. Why? Because when you write your paper, you have to ensure that an act of communication happens between you and your reader. So we are going to get a sort of an authentic paper mock reading, grooming ourselves as a scientific writer. So we are going to read as a writer, right? And you must be having 3 things ready now. What are they? You must be having the selected research paper, which you must have now downloaded or is ready on your screen for you to read. Number 2, you must be having next to you in a new tab the worksheet, or maybe in a printed form, right? Worksheet was actually shared the day before yesterday, and the post is sent on your WhatsApp at the very minute that I finished uploading all that, and I wish that you all have it, right? And the third thing that you should have is one short extract from your own writing. So the 3 things should be there. One paper that you choose to work today. Secondly, the worksheet, which I gave you on Moodle. Third thing is one short extract from your own writing. Maybe you are doing whatever sort of research writing by now, you are going to take one of those extracts. Are you all ready? If you're ready, drop me a thumbs up so that I know that you're ready, or rather drop me a yes on your chat so that I know that you're ready to go ahead. Come on. Perfect. But if you do not have it, ensure within the next 10 minutes of time, you're going to pick a paper quickly from your field, because you are a researcher, you must be having a folder in which you have saved the research papers, right? All right. With that, so today's session, we have done a little bit of a design adjustment, right? If you could remember, we had a rich session 1, but it had too much of things, so it was tidy and very hectic. Tonight, we have a simple structure. What is it? We will slowly move through a sequence of mini tasks, and that little mini tasks actually contribute to a reading lab, single reading lab, right? But each mini task builds one part of the same portfolio artifact. Now, I told you, your module is assessed by an artifact, or rather a portfolio. And first day, our research brief is the first artifact. And today, once you complete your worksheet, and once you annotate your paper, and once you bring your extract and apply some strategy that you learned from today's discussion into your extract and rewrite of it, all 3 together makes one artifact of your portfolio. Is it clear? Is it clear, my dear friends? Please, someone speak with me.
Yes.
I don't like often go and read the chat screen, because I want to hear that I'm with a live audience, right? Okay, all right. So let us move. This is going to be a working session. The slides will introduce you the moves. There are 7 moves expected. And you have the worksheet. And on your worksheet, you'll be working on, right? Your worksheet is your working document, and you have your research paper on one tab. That is part of your research, part of your today's work. And along with that part, I didn't get any WhatsApp, but I am ready to go and pick up a paper. Mahesh, quickly join the WhatsApp group, right? It's not my fault. It was, since then, about a month ago, that you were invited to it. I'm sorry. Just get ready with the paper and download the worksheet and get ready to go ahead, right? Well, all right. We are moving on. So, at the end of today's session, what we are going to achieve? We are going to read a paper. Now, it's not me who is going to read the paper, it's you are going to read. Which paper? Not a paper chosen by me, but a paper chosen by you, yes. But you typically are a reader for information. That's how usually and typically and dominantly do in your research reading. But today you are going to read as a writer, right? So you are not going to just look at the content that your paper brings in, but you are going to look at different moves that the paper brings in and how it is organized. And with that organization and by looking at the writer or other penmanship of the writer of that paper, you are going to learn something and you're going to attribute that into your own research writing character. That is the first thing. And second outcome is by reading today's guided reading session. While doing the research lab, we'll be doing a task to identify how a paper guides its intended reader. Now, every paper is written with a clearly set plan and a roadmap guiding its reader to the intended outcome. So we are trying to identify how a paper guides its reader. Third, we'll be mapping sections and paragraph functions. Now, we'll be mapping, in your paper, there are sections, there are paragraphs, and they are there not just to fill the word count, but they are there with a function. And the section breaks are with a purpose. So we are going to navigate all these features in your research paper, and we'll be collecting safe, useful, disciplinary phrase frames. Now, while we are reading the paper, for us to write our own paper, we'll be actually picking up while developing our own vocabulary and maybe glossary, maybe the writer's toolkit. We'll be collecting safe, useful, disciplinary phrase frames from the paper we are going to read today. And at the end of the day, we'll be transferring one observed writing principle to your own research text. That's why I told you the third thing. What is the third thing? The third object that you should have is extract of your writing, and we'll be applying what we learn in the classroom into that extract, and we'll be improving that extract into a credible, legible research writer. So the key idea here is that we are going to have a deep disciplinary review of the paper that we are going to read. So the focus is actually on communication, how the writer of the paper that you're going to read is doing his communication task. We are looking at choices, how the paper begins, how sections are arranged, how paragraphs move, how visuals support the prose in which he writes things, and how the writer signals his purpose, how he signals the gap, how he signals and indicates the methods, results, caution, and contribution. Now, all this is part of your research write-up. And in this session, you'll learn that published papers are not only sources of facts. So far, you have seen them as sources of facts and information to help your literature review and the rest of the story. Actually, they are examples of writer decisions. And in your research writing, you're going to make a lot of decisions, and you are going to be informed by reading this paper today. You are going to be informed by how the particular writer of your paper have informed you about his own decision making to make your reading easy and to make you understanding what he writes. Are you all right? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Do you think our roadmap is clear? If somebody can simply say, no, I know that you... All right. All right. Now, my dear friends, help me and try my best to be friendly and, be closer to you. I know that I am not closer to you because I am an old man closer to 50s, but you are young fellows. navigating your academia, right? But be be friendly and be humble to help me navigate through this difficult 3 hours, right? I wish you will be helping me. Well, so today what we are going to do is going to be ended up as one artifact of your what? Writing portfolio, because that's what I'm going to assess at the end of the day, right? You are not submitting many separate products today, right? The worksheet that you complete while doing reading task is your only artifact, right? That is the evidence of reading. That is the evidence of your moving from one step to the other. The short revised abstract, you are going to take your own writing extract and we'll be revising it with what we are going to learn today. And that will be part of your artifact as well. And the paper that you work on, maybe you'll be doing annotations, highlighting things and making notes and all that. That will also be part of your submission. So that is what your submission from today's workshop, right? So you can actually complete the worksheet during the class and you can polish it later, right? Keep in mind that at the end of the day, when you are making your submission, it is not going to be a long essay, but it's going to be a witness and evidence of what we have done during the session, and a witness and evidence of how you navigated through those steps, right? So it is clear we are moving on. So my dear friends, you need your selected paper on, open maybe in one tab, and in another tab you may be having the session worksheet. Maybe if you are using a bigger screen, you can divide the screen into three, actually two. Your own extract can be kept little smaller in the size of the big screen share, but that also needs to be hanging around by the side. If you did not bring a paper, choose one during now, just find it and download it from the LMS, the worksheet, and get ready to work on. Did you ask anything on chat? All right. Any questions before we move on? I'm glad to hear from a gentleman. Don't misunderstand when I say I'm glad to listen from a gentleman. I told this purposely because I know University of Toronto is a place where masculine habitat is a dominance, right? The feminine habitat is very little seen in University of Toronto, but it's a place for geniuses. Can I hear from one of you? Are we ready to go? Is it good to go?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Perfect. Let's move on. So, there are two ways of reading. Reading for content, that is what you have been doing so far. For research students, you do it every day, every week, right? And when you do reading for content, actually, you worry about the content alone, right? You may be looking at the methods, what these people have found, how that particular finding is going to be relevant to my study. Those are the questions that you raise, and those are the facts and information that you get from your reading. So that is reading for content. But reading as a writer actually adds a different layer, another layer to your reading act. So when you are reading for content, you miss these layers. What are these layers? How the writer of your reading artifact or reading paper guide you in your reading process, You miss that point, right? But when you're reading as a writer, you're going to grab it, you're going to grasp it. How the paper is organized and what sentences perform, key functions, and when you take a single sentence, what is the function of that? Why the hell that this bugger happened to take this sentence into this particular section? You will be questioning. And by doing this layer of analysis, you actually learn what? You learn what you can transfer into your own writing, right? So we study how these writing decisions of the write of your paper is taken, and how those decisions are taken, and how that decision and how questioning that decisions help you craft your own writing character. So that is what we're going to do today. So these two ways of reading is really, really important. Now, when you get the work done with LLM, you don't read the latter part, right? Okay, I'm not going to criticize it, but I'm just going to tell you, if you want to be a real expert, a real excel in your own research field, do what I am preferring you to do. That will ensure, eventually, convince you how nicely it is working for you to be a proper research communicator. All right, let's move on. Now, if you happen to have a chance to read the short write-up or rather short reading stuff that I sent for you to read, it is actually from William B. Hurd's book, Writing Like a Scientist. There, I'm quoting one quotation from him. When you notice why a paper feels clear, or when you notice why a particular paper is difficult, actually you gain information for your own writing. If a paper feels clear, it is a blueprint for you to understand how you should make your writing clear for someone else. And if you read or come across a difficult paper, which is a guide for you to understand how horrible can you make your own research writing a sort of a horrible experience for your reader. So, while reading your paper, notice what helped you understand, notice what made you pause and reread, record examples that you might feel like admiring in the paper, and record the features you want to avoid. Particularly, I'm advising you to use a highlighter, or rather a color which you do not really like to use in your highlighting, and use that color to highlight the phrases in your paper, the sentences in your paper which you do not ever like. You do not ever like to use in your own writing, right? So we are going to do that experiment. Here, do not read mechanically. Just do not try to look and copy the distinct content. See how he does it, how the writer does that part. And do not treat every published choice as a rule. Now, don't ever think that a paper being published, it is not that the particular paper is giving you a rule, this is how it should be written. It is a result of that particular writer's experiment. So when he does that experiment, he came up with that result. And when you are doing the same experiment, you might be improving the writer's experiment to a next level and bringing a new experience. Now, never ever ignore, when you read a paper, how you feel like reading that paper, because you bring that your reader mindset. Your first reaction as a reader should be tackled, should be made, should be made a note. Why? It needs a note because you are going to write your prose, your story. And when you're writing, you're gonna do it in a way that it appeals to your reader. I'm sure what I am highlighting is Hertz principle. When you read a paper, you have to read these through these two layers. All right? I'm sure you all are ready to move on. Well, so I'm bringing Wahlberg's principle as well. What he says, a model paper helps you see how your field organizes arguments. Now, see, when you're reading a particular paper in your particular discipline, in your particular field of science, when you're reading, what happens is you understand how in your field a particular argument is organized. Because in that particular journal, that particular organizing matters, and that tells you how the argument of that writer is organized in it. You see? This is Wahlberg's principle. A model paper helps you see how your field organizes arguments, not only arguments, but also phrases with a purpose for each phrase, and how they report findings and how they guide readers. This is a central layer that I'm sure you have never ever tried. Tell me frankly whether you have read any article in the very lens that I'm proposing you right now. Someone can speak, someone can type it in chat and respond me how you actually frankly do. And have you ever thought of this layer?
To some extent, again, like, so when I was reading, I was really looking at, because there's a requirement for me to write a paper too. So I was just looking like, what kind of language they use and sentence structure. So somewhat, but they basically focus the content really, not necessarily as like a writer.
Perfect. If you have that common sense from the beginning, let me predict you that you are going to be one of the best science communicators. Can I hear from one more?
Actually, this is what I needed because these days I'm writing my preparing for my first progress review, and came across with that how we have to organize our paper, how we have to organize the ideas, because most of the time we have ideas, we have content, we know the theory and everything, but the difficult part of this is this how we organize our arguments, and how we have to organize that to attend our readers, our audience, to make the best outcome of it. Otherwise, it will be useless. Sometimes our panel will get destroyed with our ideas. Sometimes it will be a mess. So this is what actually I needed at the moment. Thank you for guiding for this.
All right, thank you. And I'm sure that all of you are waiting to navigate through this strategic pathway, reading as a writer. So let's move on. So we are relying on theoretical lenses starting from Hurt and now on Wahlberg. They are experts in the field. Okay. Now here I'm taking a teaching example. This is not an exact authentic writing. I'm inviting you, acknowledging you that this is an invented two versions of the same abstract opening, right? So the purpose of here is, this is invented for the purpose of teaching alone, right? I'm inviting you to read both versions, right? Then, after reading it carefully, type A or B in the chat with one reason, right? You see, if you choose A and tell one reason why it is good or not so good. And if you take B, you would say why it is going to be good or not so good. Take your time to read the two versions on left, the vehicle, and read-oriented one in the right. Take your time to read and send me your response. I want everyone to respond. Well, I'm receiving responses. This is not a real abstract opening, but I have invented it for the very purpose of giving you a preview of what you are supposed to do in your lab work today, right? Reading lab. Okay. Now, all right. I'm glad to see. I'm glad to see that you are practicing what? You are enticing into the practice of reading as a writer, right? You look at the two examples and you start to navigate as a writer responding to a particular reading. Great. This is what I wanted. I wanted you to do, you to wear the shoes of a writer while you are reading this. And you are beginning to do that. I'm grateful for all of you. Ashadi, you did not mention which AOB. Yes, Mihri, you can improve, yeah, indeed. I'm glad to read all these things. I'm not going to read them out loud because it might distort your understanding because you'll be listening to a lot. I know that you all are writing and come on. Are we looking at the grammar of the sentence? Are we looking at the vocabulary? No, we are looking at something else, you see. Malava, can you actually highlight this fact that you just brought in? How the second, or rather the right-hand side writing is going to be much more inviting.
Okay. Hello, and this is what I meant by it. So what I just sent to our lecturer here is that it is a nice touch of how the second abstract snippet mentions the thermal imaging methodology to be low cost. Because when it comes to thermal imaging, there is all the way from like IR reading thermal probes all the way to LiDAR drone surveys and multi-million dollar stuff, right? So if they're implementing something that is low cost and cost effective, something that is amateur proofs, right? So even like a school kid could go ahead and do some Arduino project on it and then go ahead and figure it out themselves. That is going to be a really good approach. It's going to, break the ice on young researchers' minds. And as someone who is exposed to like curiosity and stuff like that, but still had constraints when it comes to money and no knowledge and no access to fancy high-tech stuff. It's a nice thing to always go with something that is approachable, something that is inviting. So the second option kind of clears the way for that kind of approaches, which is good, which is a nice thing. It's knowledge and it should be shared. Thank you.
Thank you. That's your expression, and of course, your reading through the layers is also invigorating. I love it. All right. So what you just have experienced is how to read through lines as a writer, because never forget that you are reading for a purpose. What is the purpose? You have your own research write-up, which you need to produce as the final outcome of your research, and with which you should ensure that what you have done in the laboratory, what you have been doing for 3 or 2 or long years, it should be communicated so nicely, so convincingly to your reader, uh, admiring your effort, or rather bringing it to a next level after reading, or maybe making your research one of the milestones of the entire research trajectory of that particular field. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's inviting that you all are beginning to read like a writer. Let's move on. Now, if you take that little extract, 2 versions that I happen to share with you, let's do a bit of a quick annotation, right? Just look at the beta version, which is B, right? The right-hand side, right? It is not simply sound more formal, it actually performs clear functions. You see, it starts with problem, typically a clear scientific stem, abstract start with stating the problem, so that you are addressing, answering, or designing a solution for that. So the problem, if you just annotate it, moisture ingress accelerates corrosion. So the problem is the point it triggers. Number 2, limitations. Detect damage only after visible deterioration. Now, there is a problem. At the same time, there is a present limitation, or rather, presently there is a limitation of this. And third thing is purpose. The study indicates that it is coming there with a purpose. And then it gives a quick glimpse of the method or the scope. You see, it is not just what? It's not just a formal write-up, it actually performs certain functions. Statement of the problem, indicating the limitations, and highlighting the purpose, and giving a notion about what a method scope the writer is using. So each of these four are actually purposes or other functions that sample B, or rather right-hand sample, was performing, in contrast to the left-hand side abstract opening. Well, you are now into the laboratory work. Let's move on. The 7 reading to write moves that I want you all to follow with your own selected paper includes these. So we'll start with first reader response, moving to look at the paper architecture, how the paper is organized, and then we'll be looking at paragraph level functions, and we'll navigate in your reading paper. You will be navigating in your own paper how cleverly the writer guides his own reader. That is step 4. And step 5, you'll be trying to actually pick up certain phrases and phrase, maybe sentences, maybe phrases, as part of a bank, or rather repository, or rather resources for you to upgrade your vocabulary, upgrade your glossary, and upgrade your toolkit as a writer. And the 6th is, you will look at from that paper what is there for you to adopt, what is in your paper there for you to avoid, and what are there which you can actually adapt. So you'll be looking at all those things while you're doing it. So you see the six steps: first read impression, paper architecture detection, paragraph function detection, and detecting the reader guidance strategies of the writer. And in the meantime, you'll be picking up certain phrases for your own writer toolkit. And then you'll see in that particular paper, what are there to adopt, what are there to avoid, and what are there to adapt. And by following these 6 steps, you actually learn a lot. And by analyzing it, particularly the rhetorics of your paper, which you are going to analyze right now, you are going to get an input and a change agency as a writer, and you are going to transfer that into your own piece of writing. You have a short extract of your own writing, and you are going to apply what you are learning from this lab work into what? Into a real-time practice of your own extract into a better version. This is what I'm expecting you to do. We will practice the moves together, right? Not alone. You'll be working with your own worksheet and your own paper, right? But we'll be following the same steps of the ladder, same 7 steps of the ladder. You will apply them with your selected paper in the reading lab activity. Let's move on. So we are now at the first reader response. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have your eye on your paper. You see, on top, it has a title, the abstract, maybe headings. Perhaps there can be a visual, and maybe opening or closing paragraphs. Well, look at the abstract. And while you are doing this first reader response, it should not be a deep analysis. It should not be a detailed reading. It is going to be a very quick response, right? You're not going to fully evaluate the paper. Your aim is to notice what the paper gives to the reader at the entrance. Now, it is the entrance point sign. You are entering into the paper, right? These moves help you remember that readers meet writing in stages, right? So the title, the abstract are stages where you read the writer. And of course, the writer reads you, the reader. A reader actually first sees title, abstract, heading, and visual before committing to deep reading. Now, read your abstract, read your title, and read the opening of your paper and give your first reader response. Use the worksheet to add your responses, or maybe, yes, you use the same downloaded worksheet to work on. You can do the fine tuning and polishing later, but just do the rough work right now. I'm counting on you. Once you're done, just send me a simple message on chat. Done with first reader response. This time, I wish, is invested in articulating your first reader response. And I'm waiting here until you guys send me the signal that you are done with it. Just navigate through the bulleted questions given. It's not a full evaluation of your paper. It is the first quick response. Well, my dear ladies and gentlemen, I'll be permitting you further time, but let me move on through the slides to explain you the little moves which are ahead, right? Okay. Now, I'm sure that you simply meditated a bit about what your first reader's response should be like. It's all right. You might have either found your first reader response or not. All right. I'll be giving you time in couple of minutes in the time yet to come. Just wait and let's navigate. What should be your second move? Just navigate. What should be your second move? All right. Well, now in your second move, what I want you to do is, with the support of the worksheet, I want you to map the paper's architecture. Now, most of the papers typically come with more or less the similar architecture. We call it IMRAD structure. I stands for introduction, M stands for methods, R is for results and discussion, R&D, and there is a bit of difference perhaps in certain papers where you bring a literature review as well. So maybe the whole architecture of the paper has certain common features, true, but what I want you to do is, while you are navigating through your paper, look at the sections and look at its function, right? And in the third column, you might find what is informed to the reader, because you are now looking at it from a writer's perspective and you are encountering the paper as a reader and you respond to it in the writer's perspective. So develop the paper's architecture relevant to the paper you are studying right now, right? Never ever think that all papers do follow the IMRAD structure, right? Sometimes certain journals and certain authors choose to violate this simple structure or maybe alter it creatively, making it, or rather thinking outside of the box. Or rather, people do not like to be isolated in a box and they move away. And perhaps the very reason for a particular paper be unique and very appealing is perhaps the writer's experiment of going out of the box. So this is not just a table filling. Keep that in mind. What you're doing is you're actually navigating the roadmap, navigating the architecture of the paper, right? Particularly, you will see the purpose of each section, right? And perhaps going beyond IMRAD, maybe some engineering papers may have design or validation section as well. So I'm just informing you. A review paper, if you are dealing with a review paper, maybe that there isn't a very explicitly stated method section, but our purpose here is to identify the task, particularly the function, and we are not going to actually punish any variation of architecture from the very architecture that you believe is the best, right? We are not going to punish the writer of your paper for deviating or rather for diverging to elsewhere than what you believe is the best. We are just trying to see how this writer architectured it with a function so as guiding you through the line. So that is your second move, and we'll be moving into the second move later, right? I'll be giving you time for that, but let us navigate what each this step looks like. Now, in the move 3, what you're going to do is actually trace one paragraph. You pick one paragraph from your big paper Now here I'm taking the example that I invented here, and what we are going to do there. Your task is to choose one paragraph from the introduction or discussion and label the function of each sentence. Now we are going to split them into sentences, and you're going to identify the function of each of these sentences. You don't need to go for a very big section. You can take a simple short section on which you can analyze each of the sentence for its function, right? And keep in mind this labeling is very simple, but they actually guide you how, with a function, a sentence emerges in a bigger prose, right? We are not going to do a grammar correction, or rather, we are not going to analyze the sentences for any other purpose, but just to look at the purpose, the function of each sentence, right? And keep in mind that we are not asking you to judge whether the sentence is perfect or not. We are asking you to guess, or rather detect, what each sentence is doing. Doing for whom? Doing for the reader, right? And remember that when we move on to session 3 next week, we actually are going to deal with voice and style. And in voice and style, this little experiment that you're doing by looking at each sentence's function will be a good guiding moment for you to reflect, recap, and of course, change your writerhood. I wish move 3 is clear. And with that, we are moving to move 4. What is fourth move? You're going to do what? You're going to navigate how the writer of your paper guides the reader. He actually negotiates a reader guiding system in a paper. Why do I invite you to investigate it in your paper? It is because when you investigate that in your paper, you understand that you also, when you are writing, you need to have a reader guidance system in your own research writing prose. So this is what you're doing. You're navigating yourself by looking at how someone else has done it, right? And this hidden support system in a text is really, really important, because strong writing helps the reader to move from one step to the other, move smoothly, understanding each step. It does not make the reader guess what they are, but it makes readers' understanding crystal clear. And at the same time, that will guide you why these paragraphs exist, right? Maybe a particular pronoun is used there with a purpose, right? And how, when the writer introduces a figure, how he does it, how nicely and how invitingly is he going to do. You have noticed in our example how, with the very term low cost, how the very write-up is going to be inviting to a bigger readership. Well, be practical, right? You need to identify one or many helpful guidance features, and you may trace where the guidance could have been made stronger, because certain papers, they have a guiding system, but it is not stronger. If you can detect if there is such a defect in your paper which you are going to read, navigate it, trace it, and suggest it. That is your move 4. Is it clear? Give me a thumbs up if move 4 is clear. I'm sure you have to give me a couple of thumbs up, because we have navigated through move 1, 2, 3, and 4. Only 2 more steps to look at. Is it clear, my dear friends? Yes, yep. Thank you. Perfect. Well, then what about move number 5? while you are navigating through the paper, while you are traversing, see that there are phrases, there are particular terminology, jargon, and interesting things that the writers display, which actually tells the disciplinary language. Disciplinary language is not about discipline, but it's about every subject has its own way of expressing, own way of writing. And when you're reading it, you identify the very field that you are doing your research, how in that field the language is used. This is because I can't teach 6 different individuals of you how in design field, how in material science field, how in chemical engineering field, how in your field this language and discipline functions, because I'm not an expert in any of those. But when you, being an expert, or rather you are enticing to be an expert, when you read it, you are known to your field and you understand, navigate, you detect, and you decipher, or let me say, you actually carefully detect the disciplinary language in it, right? See, they come with useful language. You can collect short phrases, frames as your future writing would, and perhaps there are certain conventional functional phrases which moves from one step to another, right? Which moves the experiment from one move to the other. But remember that this is not to teach you how to copy certain sentence patterns from one write and apply it in your own. But this is to guide you that your field has a particular way of speaking, writing, and expressing and writing research papers, and you are navigating it too. So this is where you harvest useful disciplinary language. So when you detect a phrase which may be appealing to you and which you may be using in future, remember that you note down the function with which the original writer used it, so that you have the phrase and maybe the phrase is added to your phrase bank with its function which the writer used it. Okay. And that is what I want you to do in Move File. Did you get it? Well, the penultimate step, one before the last step. Now, look at this paper for 3 things, 3 A's. What are they? A feature that would strengthen your own writing from this paper you are going to read. And a feature that you learn from this particular paper that you may avoid in your writing. And maybe a useful feature that you may be changing to fit into your own genre or discipline, which we call adapt. So you will be detecting a feature that you can adopt, a feature that you may avoid in your writing, and a feature that you adapt to fit into your own discipline. Now, what all this tells? Actually, all the published papers are data for learning. Learning what? It is not just learning facts. It is a learning point for you to understand how one happens to secure a space in that reputed journal by following certain strategies of writing. And when you detect that writing strategies, when you detect that writing features, when you detect those things, you are going to make your writer identity what? A superb one. So every time when you're reading a paper, remember that paper structure is that, and it is not the layout or the format. Because when you read from a different journal, different from what you already read, it might follow a different structure and pattern, but what all of them are doing is same thing, communicating, narrating, revealing what they have done to inform you all to advance research to a next level. So this is what I want you to do in move 6. And with that, we are moving to the last move. What is it? Now, having followed through all 6 stages, then you will be coming to your own writing original extract. You have the original extract in your screen, on your screen, and what you're going to do, you are going to revise the extract that you have already written using one principle you observed. Maybe this observation could be problem visibility, maybe it could be a paragraph order, maybe a statement of the purpose or other purpose statement altering. I don't know what it is. Out of the 6 moves that you follow, you will find a way how you will change your own extract into a better version. This is what I am expecting you to do. I wish the task is clear. Is it? And keep in mind that this is going to be your first working artifact that you are going to add into your writing portfolio here in this module. Can I hear from some of you whether you are clear about the process I'm expecting you to do, whether you are clear about the lab work or other reading lab we are going to undertake? If so, we can move on. Okay, sure. I'll summarize. Harshani, it's quite simple. You start with your worksheet given, in which you detect your first impression about the paper. You look at your selected paper, you give your first impression by responding to the prompts given in the worksheet and what we understood. And then you move through other steps. And each step guides you to understand how that particular paper, we are not taking any evidence, any knowledge, any fact from the paper, but we are taking what? The writing strategy, or rather the behind the screen writer decisions made by that particular journal writer to make it a publishable work. And you are going to navigate it through the 6 steps you learned. And for that, you have the worksheet to follow. And with that, you'll be trying a good feature and you'll be applying that good feature into your own write-up, which is a short extract. You will be improving that into a better version. So by the end of this activity, you have a couple of things. First thing, your journal paper, which you take here, research paper, you'll be annotating it with each step. Second, you are compiling, or rather you are filling the worksheet, following each step. And finally, by following all that, you move into your own writing. You develop your own writing into a next level, attributing the principles that you learned through 6 steps. I think I have summarized what you're supposed to do. Arshani, did I answer your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the
Perfect.
explanation.
Perfect. Any further questions, my dear friends? All right. So now we call it breakout activity, for which I'll be sparing 55 minutes. You'll be in, not perhaps in same breakout room, one worksheet, but you are working with your own paper, right? And while you're doing this, actually, you are going to have a couple of your friends joining in this thing, but they are dealing with their own papers, but still within the particular group, I want three of you to function as three role players. First one is facilitator, right? He reads out each mini task and then take time and follow it. And there is a timekeeper who will be guiding on time so as moving smoothly, and there will be a reporter. You actually note down a group insight while you are completing your own worksheet. Everyone complete their own worksheets. The group supports interpretation. Maybe while you're reading it, maybe you are reading your paper, the others are reading their papers, but there are, and I'm sure there will be enough of things that you all can actually ponder about, brainstorm about. So take this move to deal with this activity. Well, this is the breakout sequence. This is for the purpose of the timekeeper, right? 7 minutes for the first reader response, 9 minutes for the architecture map, then again 8 minutes for the paragraph function, 8 minutes for reader guidance, 8 minutes for praise bank, and 7 minutes for adapt, avoid, and adopt detection, and final 8 minutes for developing your own writing into a next level. If your group loses time, complete at least moves 1 to 4 first, right? Maybe after the class, you'll be able to do 5 to 7. I wish you are clear what we are supposed to do. You can take a screenshot of this slide to guide you through your work. Now, I'll be opening the breakout rooms for you to choose in which group you are going to be in, because in this particular group, it is better that the similar field people are working together, right? Shall I go for breakout creation? Shall I? Dear friends, can you give me a response?
Yes.
All
Sure.
right. All right. So I will let you all decide in which group you are going to be in, right? You know your fellows. Be in your own group, which you do really like. Okay? But one group can actually have only 4 members, the maximum, right? Well, so we are going to move into create the groups. Now choose your group. Before you move into, yes, let me open the groups. Now the rooms are open for you. You all can choose a group which you are going to be. Room number 1 is filled. All right, friends, find a group and join there and go ahead. There are about 10 of you who are still wondering where to go. Look at the groups and join. Hiruni, which group you would like to move? You are in computer science, I wish, yes. If anyone finds it difficult to move into a room, just let me know which group you want to move on, so I'll pull you there. There are 4 members who did not join. Ajani, Charit, and Hiruni. Where do you want to go? Are you there, my friends? All right, yes. Only Ajani and Charit. Please find a group and join, or else let me help you joining. Ajani and Charit, are you there? Ajani, which group do you want me to pull you in? I have sent you an invitation to a particular group. Ajani and Nadisha, please join a group. Charit. Ashan, you came back.
Hello, sir. I lost
Can I
my
help you
connection.
guys? Yeah, Ashan, which group were you in?
I was in group 5.
Group 5, let me pull you there.
I will rejoin.
Okay, please.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Charit, which group you were in? It seems Charit is not here, right? It's only your screen recording the doors. All right, no worries. Hello, Dimani. May I know where you were? I can pull you back into your role. Dimani Karunaratna, were you belonging to any of these groups? Ubudhu, can I help you going back to the rooms or can you do it by yourself alone?
I can, sir. I was in the group number 1.
Okay, it was mostly silent, right? You were doing
Yeah.
your work here. Yeah. Okay, do it by yourself here. Stay here, don't worry. Hello, friends. I wanted to break the fragrant silent house there. Yes, Malava, that was not 10 minutes, true. But I just wanted to break the fragrant silence, imagining that you were at least, you all are done at least up to fourth move. And I'm inviting you all to continue it because this is going to be one of the portfolio submissions. But I just thought of welcoming you back to the main room and asking a couple of questions on the work that you've been doing so far. Would that be all right? Friends, would that be all right? All right.
Yes.
Well, perfect. So can I ask, any individual can actually share your views on this. Now, this is not a group sort of observation that I'm asking. I'm asking from your own personal papers that you all were dealing with. Can you think of some of these report parts? What you have found? I'm giving you chance for the volunteers because before anything else, let me know whether the activity you were doing, or rather the scaffolding you were doing on changing your lenses from a content reader to a writer reader, does it make any sense? Or rather, were you able to detect some salient features of stories, or rather, were you able to detect something significant that may change your writer identity? Just share me in your plain language, how did you feel the activity like?
Hi, this is Mahesh.
Yes,
Uh,
Mahesh.
yeah, like I really downloaded like paper quite like quickly.
Mhm.
So I didn't get that like initial WhatsApp. So one thing like when I read, I found uh, that it's a journal, and it's like a like very well known publisher in the sector, but it's like a presentation paper. Uh, and had a lot of like a personal touch, which I not like seen in many articles. And then I read little more, and I realize the person is well known and high profile scientist, so that may be a one reason he's adding that personal touch. So that's very uncommon thing. I want to mention that one, even though that's not exactly the the the, the question you asked about the one common feature. So this is a very uncommon feature I saw, and so just wanted to share that.
Yes, Mahesh, to comment on what you felt is, this is what we call now. Imagine that someone is writing about, say, for example, Steve Hawking is writing about physics. So Steve Hawkins typically reserve what we call high recognition in the field as one of the founders of modern physics. So when he writes, he actually attires with lots of logos, what we call, because he's so legitimate to talk about what he was doing in his lifetime, because all his life itself is a research which led him to be a theorist in the century. So such papers are typically not so abundant, but there are such papers where the very high profile, very salient, or rather the key profiles of the discipline do write in such a way that they reflect sort of they reflect with their own experiences and speak. And of course, they refer not only to a single experiment, he is referring to one or more, or rather to history and now. And right, so that typically is one of the what you call rarest kind of papers that you can find in any field. I'm glad that you found it.
Actually, that's the first one came like, when I search in Google Scholar. So I just, it's related to the subject I want, but like, for this particular exercise, I thought like, I'll just read it. But I found it's very deep also, and it's very informative. It's very deep and very persuading, and so it has its own qualities. I observe like, even the language is very welcoming and persuading, and so it's more like written for the practitioners. So I think like his own voice makes sense for the practitioners rather than very like academic kind of a research paper also. But it's very very deep.
Yeah, it's really an academic paper. We call them the concept papers actually.
Okay. Yep.
So it's a different genre in many of the research writings. For you to write a concept paper, you have to establish yourself with lots of merits in your own field, and have to, be the most acclaimed researcher in the field. So then, a little thought that might come into your mind could be converted into a concept paper, and could be sent to journals. They are willing to accept such authors even at the concept paper level.
I will not, sir, for sure this time. Hopefully in future.
Yes. Well, any other who wants to share your views? Please just tell me, how did you feel it? Or rather, you may answer any of these questions which are prompted on screen. Hello? Aren't you going to support me? Please help me. I don't like to embarrass you by calling out your name. That's why I would love you to be volunteered and, just take your opportunity. Can I hear from a smart lady, please? Does it mean that does this pregnant silence mean that, oh my God, what the hell that you did? It was killing our time. Oh my God, it was horrible. Is it the kind of response that I should take?
I think this is the inverse of what they call peer pressure. Anyways, I don't identify myself as a smart lady, but let me break the silence for you because you did.
It's all right, yeah.
Because you did very, very politely say, "Please help you." So, so I met a bunch of friends. Well, I'd say yeah, colleagues in the breakout room, and they were very nice. And so the paper that I picked is a comparison of novel fungal mycelia strains and sustainable growth substrate to produce humidity-resistant biocomposites. Now, when we read that kind of like someone who is new to the field, or I mean, let me put myself in the shoes of a, like a ninth grader, right? Who can obviously read this sentence, but when reading, there is absolutely no layman's terms in there. It is all, what they call highbrow jargon. But these people who have written this, it's from Helsinki, Finland. It's from a University of Helsinki, Finland. So these people have gone out of their way to actually within the paragraphs, within certain places, give short snippets of those, as I mentioned before, some layman's sort of breathers. So it's a really nice thing, in my personal opinion. It's like familiarity. It's like a little bit of home run to people who are new to the field. Could be them, they themselves could be new to this field as well, because by the looks of it, they have obviously tackled some new cultivars that haven't been well, the gap is kind of clear. So gap is kind of clear. It is definitely one of the newer approaches for this particular technology, because the technology in itself, mycelium, it is a very new technology, and they have definitely gone there. So, however, as I was saying, I was going on a tangent. Sorry about that. The the freshness, the sort of refreshing approach they have taken with, not having to gatekeep people with heavy words is kind of nice. It's kind of easygoing, which I appreciate a lot.
Do you feel like attributing such features in your writing once you read it through?
Well, actually, I do, because let me put it this way. I have okay, let me put it this way. In my social circles, I have people from different kind of exposure to research material, and in some circles, I cannot find a single person who has read a single research paper. So we need people to read research papers, rather than, as you said from the beginning of this session, very beautifully, not to depend on an LLM, not to depend on ChatGPT. We need people to go ahead and read people made papers rather than AI slop. I would love that. I would love to see that more, but it is not what's happening. And people might, turn away from research papers if it's all just highbrow jargon then and there. It should, it's my personal humble belief that, research papers should be more accessible and more, friendly to certain people. Because if you think about Sri Lanka, mycelium, it comes from mushrooms. Certain mushroom species could generate mycelium as well. So mycelium as a building material as well. So this is a revelation that I see, because people love mushrooms over here in Sri Lanka, because most of the mushrooms that are grown in Sri Lanka, even the development of mushrooms in a sort of a governmental aided there is a training center in Ratmalana as well. So people do it themselves. People do it as we know, like a self, what do you call that? Swayam Rakyava sort of a deal. People do that themselves. So if we can take our mycelium to a circle like that, a society like that, if we can take our paper, dumb it down. I'm not saying dumb it down. I didn't word it correctly. Let me say, make it easier for them. Make it easier for everyone. Make it more accessible for people, right? To relate to what the information is then and there with layman's. It's going to be much easier. I believe it would be a addition for better. It's not going to take paragraphs upon paragraphs of yapping on your paper in layman's. It just takes like one sentence per each paragraph to give good context to someone who is not, uh, you know, uh, very versed in new technical terminology. That's how I feel like, in my personal opinion. There you go. There, I broke the silence.
Thank you, Malavan, for opening the forum. Actually, what you're talking about is uh, emerging as a pulse in the scientific literature, what we call decolonizing research writing, which is a part of the writing research, yes. What they call decolonizing is now the language and genres and registers in scientific circles are actually penalizing, particularly they are depriving many people to come and digest the content they create. So this decolonizing movement is actually what you're suggesting, with which what they suggest is, make it more accessible, more friendly to a very, what you call, lay audience, so that it will be applied. Their central argument is when research is comprehensive to its grassroots level practitioners, the world will be at a different level, because they'll be comprehending the scientific basis of their own fields, and those fields can then evolve in much faster speed, for sure. So I'm glad that you found such a paper inspiring you to feel like, you have that room of creativity and room of what we call freedom to employ your decolonizing mentality in your own paper, together with the kind of conventions they themselves set up as the scientific genre. So that's a message for everyone, I wish. Thank you very much for breaking the silence, first of all. Can I hear from one more, please? Did you actually see anything that you felt like, oh my God, I'm not going to use this sort of thing, what you call the avoid? Did you see anything that you feel like avoiding in any of your writing? This is open to everyone. I know it's a difficult time of the day, and I actually called you all back to the main room, thinking of having a little bit of a discussion, bit of a chat, a simple chat of nonsense, and then complete the activity and set you free for whatever you are going to do next. So if you could speak a little, I can actually, conclude it in a couple of minutes and let you go for your sleep, maybe for your dinner, maybe for your family chat. I don't know whatever it is. All right. I can understand the reason behind this pregnant silence. Well, so with that, what you can do is actually clear. Now, this worksheet needs to be in, with an attachment of the paper that you worked on, and what you have learned from doing this, and how you are going to change your original writing into a better version. All those three things together come as one artifact of your portfolio, and I want that be posted by 25th July. Would that be all right? So it's going to be one artifact, not separate mini tasks. You give the paper information and reason for selection, and then first reader response, architecture map, the 6 steps. And you see the bullet points, what I am expecting from you to be there in the portfolio. So ladies and gentlemen, does it mean that you don't like to speak further? If so, we can come to the exit ticket. Well, do not take any of these 2 questions, because you may be taking them into your portfolio entry. Just give me in 3 maximum words, how did you feel today? That's enough as the exit ticket. And if anyone is willing to speak, I felt Yasanti was trying to speak in. Did you? You're most welcome if you have something to share here. Or else just tell in 3 words, you may post it in chat. How did you feel today's activity and pedagogy?
Good evening. I felt the lecture is informative for me personally because when I'm reading the research papers before also, I felt like I have to allocate some time and I have to read thoroughly. Likewise, I was feeling like I have to invest my time for this. But after this session, I'm feeling that I can read the paper in the ways how can I make it more interest, and how can I find the terms, and how can I find the terminology used in the papers. So how can I get the idea from the paper without reading the full paper? Likewise, I can get some ideas from this lecture today. I feel it's very informative and it's beneficial for me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Januska. And I wish that you found a way to engage with your reading act. Did you?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies, Januska happened to actually save you all. So all the ladies here, smarter ones, should give credit to Januska for being the savior today from the not so masculine. Oh, I'm not going to put them in, the binaries, but she saved the entire smart ladies. Thank you very much. And anyone else, please speak. Don't hesitate to speak because I'm not so distant from you.
Yeah, one small thing from me. Am I audible?
Yes, Ashan, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So when going through today's flow, what I understood is so far when reading research paper, so I was only limited to the technical aspect of the paper. But the way that today's activity flow was designed, sort of taught me how to look at the language perspective of it as well, which makes quite easier to understand the content of the paper. So the flow is really nice and it is really useful. That's my feedback.
Thank you, Ashan. I think the whole purpose of this session and the whole module is now these days everyone feels like not reading. They simply delegate that task to LLMs. And with that, we are going to produce graduates who cannot read a science paper. If a person is actually incapable of reading and digesting and extracting an information or rather fact from a paper, how can we expect them to be producing knowledge? So in such a context, I actually planned this pedagogy or rather this scaffolding to give you a purpose for your reading. Now, when you get the heavy burden of extracting information or other facts from a paper, that actually is a huge cognitive burden for you, which actually demotivates you reading. But if you just look it in a very, very mild sense, how this bugger is going to tell his story to me, a simple lens like that would invite you to read. And that invitation takes you through the lines. And I'm sure when you navigate through the lines, you realize you understood the whole paper perfectly. That is my assumption when I plan this pedagogy or rather made this scaffolding. I think Ashan's response is positive feedback for me to convince myself that it worked for at least Ashan. Thank you, Ashan.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Any other friends who would like to contribute? Please go ahead. And I see some of you are posting how you felt it. I expected you to write 3 words, but you all are writing lengthy ones. It's all right. It's all right. I love to read lengthy ones, but I just wanted to let you all feel free. Sharky, I try my best to upload them a little earlier, but unfortunately, the session break or rather session gap is also 4 days, right? So I need time to, scaffold. I typically try out things, and from the interaction, I learn things, how particularly the learning dynamics happen in the classroom, and with which I alter my pedagogy often. That's why I take time to prepare all those things, but I try my best to, provide them as early as possible so that you have time to navigate through them. Well, thank you very much, friends. Then, with that, I'm going to wind up today's session. It's exactly 10, it seems. Yeah, 9:59. Thank you very much for supporting me in this late evening after a hectic day. What to do? These are the times permitted for us. We'll do something, and we'll be meeting with third session on this Sunday. I wish that on that day, being it the first thing in the day, things will be much more active or rather engaging than this. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.